It's Mike, NoStressMike.com. All right, we're talking about city folk trying to get their self together after a disaster. Okay, on the first part, we've already located the family. We've got the family together, and now we're ready to decide what we're going to do. Options. Okay, you have one option: stay where you're at. Depending on the disaster, that might be the wise move. Here in Guatemala, we had a hurricane in 2006. Three of our 5 roads were wiped out, and so we only had 2 roads, and they were restricted. I mean, so much traffic. I mean, it was a disaster trying to get that stuff through. So the best really was to stay. Now, if you lost your home, you lost everything here in Shella, then you would want to get on the road to go where you have family or whatever it is that you're going. But they had a rough time because, like I say, the roads were restricted. And now, when I say restricted, the first problem is you have police. They didn't have the military. They had the police took over the roads. And what they did is they took people as refugees. So in other words, if you had no place, you were trying to escape the city, they just thought you were a refugee needing some place to go. So they put them in what we would call FEMA camp, except for it wasn't a FEMA camp. It was just a warehouse type place they put them in. And it gave them good hot food and place to stay, and shelter from the weather. So they were all grateful. It was a good thing. And the first day. And then as the next day, they put up a fence around there, because they had so many people going in and out. Being in this refugee camp, you got to watch out because people are going to be, people you don't know and stuff like that. They're stealing from you, and people that aren't really in the camp are coming in and taking advantage of these people that have lost everything, stealing stuff and selling them stuff and all this kind of stuff. So they put this fence up so they could control the traffic. Okay, and then as days went on, it found out that the people inside didn't have free access to go in and out. They started restricting the access. And then it just got more and more and then the same thing, you couldn't go in and visit them, and they couldn't come out, and next thing we know, they had diseases because of all the moisture and all the kind of stuff. They had funguses and they had all kinds of weird tropical diseases and stuff like that. So now it changed from a place of shelter to a quarantine. And then the fences were good fences, and then they had armed guards, and so it changed like that. So in other words, being on the road, being a refugee sets you up for the government also. Okay, now not only the government, but like I say, even if you were to get past the checkpoints that the police put up, then they had bandits on the road. All the police were tied up. So you're not going to call police. So if you get past the roadblock, you're going to get down the road, and then there's going to be, like I say, bandits over there. Most of them had machetes here. And but like I say, some of the places they do have guns. I was on the road. I went riding around on the motorcycle, helping people. But I was a crazy gringo, and I had the vicious animal. Xena was on the motorcycle, so they let us go through all of our places, and then I just had to deal with the bandits. And seldom did they have guns, but a lot of times they did have guns. I mean, how many times they have to have guns before it's troublesome? So, in other words, even if you do get through the roadblocks, and we're talking about in your city at that time, if you decide to hit the road and go, you're setting yourself up for a lot of headaches. It's going to be really rough. It's going to be really tough. If you can drive it, you'll have a better chance. Even if you were on a bus, something like that, it does not, and a lot of people think, you know, the more people, the safer you are. And that doesn't apply in bad situations like that. They're all the time stopping buses and robbing people on buses and stuff like that down here. It's hard to stop a bus, but once you get it stopped, you're pretty much screwed. And maybe get a ride with a pickup, and you know, all this kind of stuff. Now, this is what we talked about. In your backpack, you're going to have gold and silver, along with, like I say, some cash. Because when you need a ride, a lot of times the cash will not give you a ride. Then it's going to take something special. And that's what I'm saying. A nice shiny copper coin, that has opened up a lot of doors for me. In Vietnam, I was only on a truck one time, a truck convoy, and we were driving through this village. And everybody, whatever, what I say, we were gathering everybody in the villages, and it was, you know, I wasn't, but I mean, that's what the troops were doing. And so people were trying to flee the village. And the truck stopped, and I looked down and I saw, and they had this big truck, and it was held up by traffic, and it was moving out. And it was plumb full of people. You couldn't buy a ride on that truck. I mean, there's just no way. And this lady had a baby. Now, how's she going to get the baby out of the city in turmoil? Okay, what she did, she took her necklace off. And she handed it up there, and the guy took it. And he looked at it. And then he put it, and then he reached down and he took the baby. Now, you know, so the baby's got to ride out of town. The mama is screwed. And that's what happens in war. Families are separated all the time. So, but now the thing is, now we don't know, he might have just got outside of town and threw the kid out in the ditch somewhere. Nobody knows what happens. And what happened to the mama. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But she bought a ride for the baby with gold, or not a gold necklace, just a necklace. I don't know if it was gold or not. But this is why I say gold and silver. Sometimes cash isn't enough. Because even at that time in war, cash means nothing because they can change the money. Like I say, and we talked about this in some of my videos, that how they can change, like I say, I think we had like pink money, and then in one day they changed it to blue money. And so if any of your pink money is worthless after that. So people don't have any trust in paper currency. That's why gold and silver. That's why you have the gold and silver. So leaving may or may not be the proper thing to do. But you can't stay unless you are prepared to stay. And so you need to get, like I say, water purification. You need to get food. Like I say, dehydrate takes up less food, less space, but you're still going to need it, the water for that. And in a city, I'm not sure how you're going to do the water. You know, I mean, like when you first, after a disaster, I think they have plastic liners for bathtubs, and you just turn on your bathtub and you fill up your bathtub with water. I'm not real keen, personally. I'm not keen on storing water because water will go bad by storing it. I'd rather have water purification. I even carry it in my backpack. I always carry water purification. And because water is the one thing I have to have. And there's no way you're going to carry it, so I bring my purifier so I can purify it. So, but in a city, it's going to be tough to get water. And say, I don't know if you're going to have notice to fill your bathtub. And even your bathtub is going to be limited on how much water you're going to have. So try to spend the weekend, one weekend, fill up your bathtub with water and just use that water and try to make it through the weekend. And then you'll have a little idea what it's going to be like after a disaster. So, but like I say, so you will need the stuff at this safe area, But you got to remember, there's going to be other people that are going to want to get into that safe area. How are you going to deal with them? It's going to be a tough call if you stay. It's going to be a tough call if you go. So there's all kinds of things that you need to consider whether you stay or you go. Now I'll talk a little bit more on what to expect, what to expect on the road, and what's going to be happening around you during and after a disaster. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.